everybody and welcome along to another brand new video where today I'm talking all things Doctor Who missing episodes. So yes, as I'm sure most of you guys know, Doctor Who back in the 1960s, all the episodes were filmed, they were never shown again, a lot of them, and then eventually the tapes were junked. Some of them were sent abroad and have gradually been recovered, but it means a fair amount, I believe 97 episodes of Doctor Who in the 1960s no longer exist in any sort of form, the original visuals. We've got some animations, we've got the soundtrack to all of them, and recons of course, but a lot of the episodes are missing. But underneath that, despite not being able to actually always see much of the visuals of an episode, there are quite a few hidden gems, quite a few actually really good stories in there that I'd kind of would love to be able to see the visuals of, but even just in say audio form or reconstruction form, are really enjoyable. So I thought today, as I've reached the end of the 1960s era Doctor Who in my marathon, I thought I'd just take a quick look back at a few of my sort of the ones that I particularly enjoyed of these stories that are at least predominantly missing episodes. So not all of them have all episodes missing, but they've all got over half of them missing. Plus I'm going to talk about a couple of animations as well that have sort of been quite impressive. And yeah, it just seemed a good opportunity to have a look at a few missing episodes. I'm going to take this in chronological order, so first up on my list is Marco Polo. Now this is a story that I know a lot of people rate quite highly and really would love to be able to see again. It's of course the first pure historical story of Doctor Who back in, well, I guess Unearthly Child is kind of a pure historical as well. But a 7-part story, the 4th ever Doctor Who story. An episode that is completely lost, all 7 episodes are missing. But I think is actually a really fantastic story. I remember it's been quite a while since I watched it now. It was around 18 months, but back when I did review it, go check that review out as well if you haven't seen it already. I just remember it being such a really kind of very varied story, a story that gets around a lot of different locations. They seem to cover a lot of ground in 7 episodes where it always feels like different things are happening. I think the Doctor's quite good in this story as well. The companions, it just all combines. There's lots of great characters and lots of great sets and designs. It's one of those stories I think would really benefit even more from the visuals if they could ever possibly be recovered. It's probably the story that's most commonly sort of rumoured as being recovered and fake news that it's being recovered and this kind of thing, and I think ultimately it hasn't yet, and well, who knows. It feels like one of those that are kind of in the middle in terms of how likely it's to be recovered. It's not at the Feast of Stephen end of it's no chance, no hope at all. It also doesn't feel super likely, but it kind of feels like you never know. It could turn up if we're lucky. We might get Marco Polo, and I would look forward to that. I think it's, with a lot of the missing episodes, as much as there are ones that I do really enjoy, there's also stories where you really struggle, I think, with just having recons of it, and it's just sort of quite difficult to get through. I found that with Fury from the Deep in particular, just a random story to pick out. So I know a lot of people rate it quite highly, quite enjoy it, think it's quite a brilliant story, and I think there is a lot of brilliant story in there, just I particularly struggle through 6 full episodes of reconstructions with only, I think, 2 minutes of actual footage. It can just sometimes be quite a struggle. So yeah, I think a lot of missing episodes can be, your opinions of them can be defined by how good the reconstruction or the audio is, and just whether you're really engaged and really can enjoy that medium of telling that story, because without the visuals, yeah, it can be quite difficult. But yes, Marco Polo, it is a big, exciting, a proper sort of epic historical story that I think really would benefit from the visuals more than some other stories. You never know, it might get recovered, but that's certainly something to get excited about it if it ever did. Now, my next story on the list that I'd love to see again, and is a classic missing story, is the Dalek Master Plan. I know it's quite popular to talk about it and say it's a really good one, but I do agree. I watched it, all 12 episodes of it, with the 3 existing and 9 reconstructions, and it's brilliant. It's again got such range and variety through those 12 episodes. It almost feels like a series all in one. Obviously, it is a 12-part story, but it almost feels like every episode is a link to the main plot, but is very different, covering very different locations through alien planets and in spaceships, and then in Egypt as well, and covering so many different bases throughout the story. Introducing, of course, Nicholas Courtney for the first time, not playing the Brigadier in this story, but seeing him for the first time is always exciting, and also having Marvick Chen played by Kevin Stoney, who is absolutely brilliant in this story, and then even more brilliant in The Invasion as well. He's such a perfect villain for this story, I really think. And it also works. The Daleks are really effective as always in this story, I think, in particular. Of course, it's got the rather comedic Feast of Stephen episode 7, the Christmas special, that's completely missing. There's no hope it'll ever come back. That's it. We've just got a soundtrack and a couple of pictures, and that is all we're ever going to get of Feast of Stephen. And it's a bit of fun. It's bizarre. It makes little sense and is completely random and nothing to do with the rest of the plot. But it's just a bit fun. It's nothing like anything else you would ever watch in Doctor Who in any medium form, I think. There's nothing like it. So if you do ever get the chance to check out a missing episode, go watch The Feats of Stephen just for something completely random and wacky. So yes, we've managed to recover 3 episodes of this so far. I think it's unlikely we're going to get all, well, we're never going to get all 12, but I feel like it's unlikely we're going to get too many more of them, if any. Who knows? It's always hard to know exactly what's going to come back, but I don't think we can be too optimistic for this one. But I think there are lots of telesnaps which definitely helps, but I think there's also lots of visual scenes which would really benefit this story if it did ever get returned. Now, my next one on the list is the Faceless Ones, which of course really excitingly has just been announced for an animation, which I'm really looking forward to. A brilliant story set in Gatwick Airport initially, with all these mysterious shape-shifting chameleon characters or aliens that are kidnapping people off planes and taking them up to their sort of spaceship and up in the sky, and it's just lots of it feels real Earth-based with the whole sort of Gatwick Airport setting. I think is brilliant, and it just feels really sort of, there's lots of devious plots running throughout the story. The mystery of Polly, who suddenly doesn't recognise the Doctor in episode 2 because she's been kind of cloned, and just lots of different brilliant aspects that I think create such a brilliant story. It's one of those that I didn't know anything about going into. I didn't have any expectations for at all. And then suddenly watching it, even with 4 out of 6 reconstructions, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic story, so I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do with an animated version of this as well. Of course, rather bizarrely animating all 6 episodes rather than just the 4 missing ones, but that's still something to look forward to. And yeah, I just hope that some of these other stories go that way in the future, because there's definitely lots of potential to be had there. And my other main missing episode that I think is an all-time is a brilliant classic story that I'd love to see returned or animated or something in the future is Evil of the Daleks. Again, I know it's a popular choice, it is a fan favourite and all that, but it deserves that place. It's cracking from beginning to end. I love how you spend the first sort of episode 2 in contemporary Earth, and then suddenly 2 episodes in we go back to the 1800s, and it's like completely changing the story, and all the mysterious things that are going on in this big house. What are these two strange men doing? We're trying to sort of create time travel. Why is there Daleks around here that are suddenly getting involved as well? What is their overall plan in trying to find this sort of human factor? Then ending up on Skaro later in the story, and meeting the Emperor of the Daleks and then destroying them all. It's just, there's so much thrown at this story. I think again it did feel for me a little bit drawn down by the reconstructions, just not having those episodes there apart from episode 2, struggling through 5 consecutive reconstructions. I just find sometimes it can be a bit difficult to get through, and I think there were elements of that in this story, but I still thought it was an absolutely cracking story, and I think again it would really benefit from some animation, or you never know, maybe even a return episode or 2. Of course, animation is the way that missing classic Doctor Who is going at the moment, and I want to just give a mention to a couple of classic stories that have been animated that I've really been pleased with. The first one being Power of the Daleks, which I didn't actually know anything about before watching the animation of it for the first time. Obviously I knew it was Patrick Troughton's first story and that it had the Daleks in it, but that was it. I knew nothing else. And I thought it was such a wonderful, brilliant story. Patrick Troughton is so fantastic in doing the whole sort of post-generation trauma style that he brings out early in the episode, and the Daleks being their absolutely scheming and devious best, pretending to be good and helping this human colony to try and sort of ultimately take over everything. It's just such brilliant classic Dalek story. I think maybe even I prefer it to Evil of the Daleks. As much as I do think that's a very good story, I think I'd slightly prefer it to Evil, at least at the moment. If they animate Evil of the Daleks, maybe that will become my favourite then. But at the moment, I would probably put Power of the Daleks just ahead, because it is absolutely brilliant, and I think the animation works really effectively as well. Yes, it is now 3 years old, the animation, and compared to, say, the Macroterra, it does look more rushed, a bit more basic, I think it's fair to say. But I didn't really, watching it more recently, I really didn't think it looked bad. I still thought it was a very enjoyable, well done animation that really brought the story to life in a very effective way. So I was really pleased to see that, and I think definitely animation is a medium that can work really well for Doctor Who. And one of those stories that maybe in the future could benefit from, only a single episode of animation, of course, is The Web of Fear, because that's a brilliant story. I really, again, that's another fantastic one set in the London Underground and the tube stations with the Yeti and the Great Intelligence. It's a cracking story. There's so many brilliant action scenes with UNIT fighting off all the Yeti and everything. It feels so claustrophobic and creepy throughout the story, and it just has so many great moments in it. But of course, episode 3 is missing. Well, it's the mysterious case of episode 3 getting lost on the way back from Nigeria when they were all recovered, which we still don't really know the full story to. It's all a little bit hard to tell exactly what's happened. And it's one of those stories that's so close to being completed, and if it turns out they can't ever get episode 3 back, I would love to be able to see them animate episode 3 for a future Web of Fear special edition, I guess, or maybe the complete season box set or something like that. It only takes one. I know it's still a lot of work, but only one episode of animation just to complete that story, rather than being stuck with a not so nice recon right in the middle of it. Kind of, it's particularly when it's Colonel Leslie Stewart, ultimately Brigadier Leslie Stewart's first episode. It had to be his first moment that we missed because that episode was the one that was lost. It's really a shame. And you never know, might be something we'll see in the future, but I definitely think that, for example, is just one opportunity where animation could really help complete a story. Ultimately, I think really pretty much any sort of missing story I would love to see animated. Maybe a lot of the historical stories I'm not quite so much of a fan of, as much as I do enjoy Marco Polo. Some of the other ones aren't really my cup of tea so much, and it's probably not my favourite type of story. So I've been pleased so far in the way they're looking to animate more the sort of more science fiction-y, alien invasion-y type stories in The Power of the Daleks, The Macra Terror, the Faceless Ones to come as well. I've all been very pleased with all of those choices so far, and Sharda, which is a little bit of a different one, of course. But I'm just optimistic to see what comes in the future. Of course, the ideal would be to have the episodes recovered, but it feels like that's less and less likely. I think, well, we're over 5.5 years now since we last had an announcement of a recovered episode. And I think the longest period in the last, 25, 30 years without an announcement of a missing episode was about 6 years or 6.5 years. So we're getting close to the longest distance between announcements of missing episodes returning, which is sad. And obviously it's always going to be the way eventually there is going to become that point where they've looked everywhere. There is no more episodes to be found. There is no more in existence anywhere in the world. There will get to that point. Of course, it's hard to cover every piece of ground, and there may be some that can just never be found because we don't know where they are, and they might be hidden away and it's impossible to find. I'm optimistic that there will be finds in the future. I just don't know what, and I don't know when. There's always rumours, there's always little hush tones and chats and whatnot about possibility private collectors who are holding on to one secretly and whatever. There's always talk of that, but it's always hard to know what's going to come for the future. But we can always keep hoping and looking forward, and you never know, we might get a few more missing episodes returned. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this quick little video just discussing a few sort of my favourite missing episodes, my favourite animated episodes, and also the possibilities for the future in terms of missing and animated episodes. Do let me know down in the comments below, what are your favourite stories that are predominantly missing? What ones do you think would benefit most from coming back as well? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But other than that, guys, remember that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Goodbye.